Let me know when we're fully live.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Straight off the chain.
Don't laugh, somebody might do that too.
Yeah.
Go sit in a booth,
Well, you have those like comfy couches that are really deep, so you're talking about dangling feet. How it's like little feet are just sticking out.
So I have to sit.
Yeah.
This one is a sport jacket. Great, I think we're
Adorable.
get started. The time is now 6 o'clock, and we'll call the meeting to order. Do I have a motion for approval of the agenda?
I move we approve the agenda.
Second?
I have a motion, a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Motion carries. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Hartman, will you please lead us?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Informational reports, we'll start with Dr. J.
Madam President, members of the board and guests, it was just a week ago we were here, so I have a lot of updates. Just couple of quick things just on projects. The library construction at the McDowell Mountain is moving forward, and projected finish date is right around February 1st. So it's off and running, and it's completely empty, and we've had a lot of meetings with CORE. They've been very good with communication, and we're very excited about that. The first round of playgrounds, we've had a couple of dates where we've had some shipping delays, but we are hoping that Monday they will be starting, at least at one of the sites. But we've been pretty much guaranteed by the 28th. So in the next week or two, 7 to 10 days, we're hoping that it will start. It'll be about 2 weeks, and Mr. Wilkinson will have to reroute the kids a little bit for a few days. But we're excited to get that done as well. Wasn't expecting this, but I just want to point out, I met David Finley here. He was the principal of McDowell Mountain in 1987. So I've offered to take him on a tour of the old and new McDowell Mountain, but whenever someone comes back from, being a principal in the past, I always like to recognize. So thank you for all your efforts in Fountain Hills. So with that, I conclude my comments.
Any questions or comments for Dr. J? Hearing none, we'll move on to governing board reports. Ms. Reed?
I also don't have too much to share, but I was able to help out with the Day of Awesomeness today with the middle schoolers. And it was honestly just awesome. It was cute to see the kids being kids. They were that age, and so I know that the admin probably was on edge waiting for something to happen, but they were so good, and they were just, it was fun to see them enjoy each other and enjoy the space. So it was good.
Thank you. Ms. Settle?
I have nothing to report, thanks.
Okay. Ms. Zacher?
I went to watch the Veterans Day celebration, first at the elementary school, which was great, having all the kids out there cheering, and then they came over to the middle school and high school, so that was really nice. And I attended coffee with the high school, and I have to say it was great coffee. He told me to say that, so. So it's always very informative, and it's nice to see the few people that do show up and questions that come up.
And I have nothing to report as we were just here last week. So, Okay, we will move on to district celebrations and start with McDowell Mountain.
You got a new shirt on there, huh? I did.
Talia.
I think they're all the same, so you should be good. Or just put them all up there, so you don't have to come up everything. Thanks.
Good evening, Madam Board President and Governing Board. Tonight I'm here to present from Little Falcons Preschool, the student and the teacher. So unfortunately, Miss Valentino is our teacher, Falcon of the Month, and she was out sick today. But I'd like to share what was said about her. Ms. Valentino is an amazing teacher who cares deeply for her students and their families. Her teaching style and classroom environment enables participation for all students with a variety of learning needs and preferences. Her hard work and dedication does not go unnoticed by her colleagues. Thank you, Nicole. We are so happy to have you as part of the preschool team. Nicole Valentino. Okay, so for our Student of the Month, we chose Liam Finley was chosen as the Preschool Falcon of the Month because of his enthusiasm, his friendliness, and his improvement in class participation. Liam has made tremendous growth in language, attention to instruction in the classroom, and self-control. Liam has a smile for everyone. He also personally greets his teachers and peers daily with kindness and joy. Congratulations, Liam.
Here, you want to be superintendent? All right, you go ahead and run the meeting. You want to say something? Want to say some words?
I'm ready today. Santa on the wheel.
All right, you ready? All right, give me 5. Good job. Come on now, we're going to take your picture.
Do you want to get a picture or just here?
Chris Hartman, can you take a picture? Chris Hartman will take a picture. Love it. Thank you, Leah.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is Fountain Hills Middle School. And your gift card should be right there. Okay.
Hello, everyone. Okay. I get to honor Jennifer Miller, our teacher, and Landon Wilson. So I'm going to start with Miss Miller. So many words, so many things I can say about Mrs. Miller. Since she joined our team, she is the most reliable of all teachers. She performs to the highest expectations every day. I mean, every day. If you ever want to see really good classroom management, she's the go-to lady right there. The students adore her. She has a great amount of respect for everyone who enters her room within the community. She, what can I say? She's been a great find. Students feel comfortable around her. They feel safe in her classroom. One of the best things I like about her, she has her own little, her little tickets, right? Kids answer right, they get a ticket, they get to, put it in a raffle, and they get to draw at the end of the week. She does so many things to get the kids engaged in learning as well as rewarded at the end of the week. So I like that. Her teammates think highly of her too. They say she is so easy to work with, always friendly and positive, and that she's a great problem solver, hence being a math teacher. As a principal, Jennifer Miller is a dream staff person. I appreciate the effort she puts into her job and especially the extra support she offers to everyone. So Ms. Miller, come on down.
Somebody needs to take your picture.
Mr. Harmon's going to take all the pictures tonight.
Come on, Mr. Hartman.
Okay. For my student, he's a sixth grader. His name is Landon Wilson. He is an overall awesome kiddo. Landon has impeccable manners and is always respectful and attentive in class. Landon takes his work seriously and makes every effort to do his best. He doesn't hesitate to ask questions, and if he needs to have something clarified, he will. He is very pleasant and conscientious student who performs very well in class and is friendly with his peers. Come on down, Landon.
Okay. Step aside. Mr. Hartman, start. And you give cards to the other.
Good evening. Just got to find my paper here that I once again printed in large print. Okay, for the high school, we will start with the student. This young man, this is from Allison Meekum, one of our math teachers. This young man is one of the most respectful young men at FHHS. He is humble and kind. He doesn't give up. He's impressed me with his desire to see a job through. He certainly follows the 4 tenets of Fountain Hills High School: respectful, responsible, safe, and kind. And then Coach Skirm says, this young man is kind and respectful. He gets along well with his peers and has a terrific sense of humor. He was a great addition to the football team this year and was always respectful, responsible, safe, and kind. Mikkel Henry. Okay, faculty. This person really doesn't like public recognition, so I condensed these remarks to about 15 minutes. Evelyn Wynn has bled blue from the moment she walked on campus in the summer of 2021. Her passion for kids, sports, and education is unmatched. In her roles as AD and Dean of Students, Ms. Wynn combines life lessons and teachable moments while delivering a restorative justice daily to our students. She's enormously popular among staff and students alike and maintains a positive attitude. Students feel comfortable confiding in her, looking for advice about athletics, academics, and life. She makes a point to go to so many events outside of school hours, whether it's a swim practice at 6 a.m. just to say hi, or a football game, or a dance concert. Ms. Wynn is everything a campus could ask for as a mentor, AD, a dean, and person. My only concern is the Taylor Swift obsession, which doesn't quite warrant therapy at this point, but we're getting there. This acknowledgement is a long time in coming. Evelyn Wynn.
Mr. Hartman, make sure you're giving them their gift cards.
No, I'm keeping it.
Okay, next up, we have the district office / transportation staff. Dr. J, are you going to?
I believe I am. I don't see John Flynn here. John Flynn has recommended Dina Walker. Dina has gone above and beyond connecting with both parents and students. She transports. Due to the nature of her route, it seemingly changes week to week. A dedication to being sure all of her students are aware of the changes. She has more than capably filled the shoes of those who came before. It is a pleasure to award Dina Walker the Falcon of the Month for transportation. So Dina.
Thank you.
And we got a little challenge coin and then a gift card for the
Congratulations to our staff and students for their award for the month. You are all more than welcome to stay for the governing board meeting, but if you prefer to be excused, please feel free to exit. Thank you all. What? You didn't want to stay? Next up, we're going to have a presentation from Republic Services regarding a recycling curriculum. Dr. J, would you like to speak on that?
Yes, Madam President, members of the board, guests. Recently, so a few months back, Republic Services came to meet with me. As I've always shared, I make my office available and meet with everyone who wants to meet. And they wanted to share with me some new things they're trying to do as an organization regarding recycling curriculum. When I was principal at high school, we did bring back a recycling program through Christine Barsama, and I believe it's NHS that runs that. And so they wanted to share some information with the board, and we were able to schedule it. So it's all yours.
Do you have a connection that you can plug in? Our techie's gone, so.
That was one thing that I should have checked with you, sorry, that's okay.
If it'll take USB-C.
Beautiful. Can everybody see that okay? Now that our crowd has dissipated? Good evening, and Dr. Kane, thank you so much for the warm welcome. Madam of the board and members of council, is that what you call them? Members of the board? It's always interesting how to address these differences. But my name is Michael Roldan. I am the municipal manager here for Republic Services. I brought my team with me this evening as well. We've got Sadiq Young, who is the general manager of the North Phoenix Hauling Yard, as well as the recycling facility here in Scottsdale. My counterpart, Emma Reyes, is also here as well. although she's my counterpart tonight, she acts as my photographer, so thank you in advance, Emma. And I really do wish Liam was still here, because he had a beautiful sports coat that I could have put on for this presentation, but he was much more well-dressed than I was. But in any event, no more fitting of a day than November 15th to have a recycling conversation. As many of you may or may not know, today is National Recycling Day in the United States. And so here's the presentation based on some of that. So we'll go ahead and start on slide 2 here. So why recycling in schools matters. The first and foremost, environmental awareness. Schools are ideal setting for installing environmental values in students. Recycling programs teaches children about the importance of environmental stewardship, the impact of waste on the planet, and the role they can play in making a difference. Reduction of waste is number 2. Schools often generate significant amounts of waste, including paper, plastic, and food waste. Recycling helps reduce the amount of waste sent to landfills and incinerators, thereby minimizing the school's ecological footprint. Third of which is resource conservation. Recycling conserves natural resources such as trees, waters, and minerals. By recycling materials like paper and plastic, schools contribute to the conservation of these resources, which are essential for the planet's health and future generations. And the last of which is energy savings. The process of recycling uses less energy compared to producing new products from raw materials. By recycling, schools can play a part in energy saving and reducing greenhouse gas emissions, which contribute to climate change. And here we have kickstarting with awareness. Organizing educational campaigns, assemblies and classroom programs. As far as ideas are concerned for this program, one of those ideas was developing a campaign for a potential assembly, whereby the kids would have the opportunity to listen to an expert, either myself, Sadiq, or somebody else, where we would bring in and talk a little bit about recycling and get them excited about what that essentially means inside the school system. Accessible recycle bins in the classroom, placement in the classrooms and common areas, proper labeling and usage. These are not the actual recycling bins that you would be putting inside the classroom. They would be much smaller. We have these event boxes that I believe we actually had an event here over the summertime, a cross-country race that we gave some to Miss McDonald. And they're just cardboard bins that we would place inside the classrooms, and in the future we could come through and check to see how well the kids are doing with the recycling program by managing that process. So we could see how much residual material is in there and determine how much is actually recyclable versus not recyclable. With a huge focus, of course, on paper. System for collecting and recycling paper, importance of recycling paper from schools. A simple Google research shows that an average school uses 320,000 sheets of paper every single year. The primary raw material for making paper are, of course, trees. For every ton of paper recycled, approximately 17 trees are saved. This conservation is crucial for maintaining biodiversity, reducing deforestation, and protecting habitats. Empowering students. Recycling Club or Eco Team, student-led management and education, empowering students to take leadership roles by having perhaps a class president that spearheads this inside the classrooms would be helpful. Partnering for success, collaborating with local recycling facilities like ours, enhancing program effectiveness. Our recycling facility is right in our backyard here on Beeline Highway. I'm happy to come back into the classroom and see how the recycling program is going as well. We can make a classroom competition to see who has the most material and who has the cleanest material. Art from recycled materials, incorporating recycling art into the projects, encouraging creativity and sustainability. I know that the town of Fountain Hills has a competition every single year around Earth Day where the public has the opportunity to create the best structure out of recycled material. The same can be implemented here in the schools. Fun and engaging contests, organizing recycled themed competitions, encouraging school-wide participation. Parent and community engagement are definitely involved in this slide. Creating a campaign on social media to show how Fountain Hills Unified School District is doing their part to create a sustainable future. And then learning beyond the classroom. This is one of our last slides. Visiting the recycle centers, hands-on environmental education. So I actually have a short video here to show you guys that is not our recycling facility here in our backyard in Scottsdale. It's located right here on Beeline Highway. This is actually a video based out of Plano, Texas, but it kind of shows and delivers the theme of recycling and how it's essentially performed from soup to nuts. So if you don't mind, I'll go ahead and play this really quickly and hope that it works. So our facility is a little bit different than this. This one's slightly larger. I believe it can process about the same material, but some of the material that we process can be up to 40 tons an hour. And our facility, I believe, is 51,000 square feet. Let me see. And that's what the end material looks like. Thank you for indulging me in that. Resources for educators.
Under the federal and state waste codes accepted.
Let's shut this off. Oh, sorry. Oh no. I think I deleted everything.
Now you're gonna have to wing it.
That's all right, I'm on like the last few slides, I promise. Let's just do it a little bit open-faced. Maybe it turned off. If it doesn't come back, it's okay, I'll just finish up with this. There's only the last few slides here. Resources for educators being one of them. Providing training and materials, integrating recycling into the curriculum. So right now, we're currently working on our Arizona State certification. That was one thing that we uncovered we needed to do. We are currently NGSS and CCSS certified. So I'm working with the Department of Education currently to become Arizona State certified so that there is a future to implement some of our curriculum into some of the teachers, and that is something that we look forward to coming back and presenting that to you guys when and if that time does come. And I do have something that we have from an acceptable recyclable materials slide here that you won't be able to see because it's not posted up, but traditionally what's accepted here, especially at the MRF, which is the recycling facility here in Scottsdale, is aluminum, paper and cardboard, plastics, and there's different levels of plastic and grades that we accept, some that we do not. Glass, we'll accept. We're not super stoked about having glass because it tears up the machine, but we still accept it. And then carton jugs as well. And that's what I have for you. I can open up to the floor if there's any questions here. I've got my resident recycling expert with me, so you can answer any questions that I fumble on.
Thank you. And if you can send your presentation to Krista, then she can send it to the board as well, so we can see the rest of this.
Absolutely.
So I guess my first question then will be, what's the cost?
The cost of recycling?
Or the cost to the school? Like, is there a cost to us?
Yeah, so there wouldn't be, right? So some of these resources that we're willing to partner with you on would be afforded by your public services. So we have cardboard event boxes that we would be able to distribute into each classroom. And then, like I said, depending on level of participation, we could come back quarterly, semi-annually, monthly, whatever that frequency looks like, and just check the material to see, who's doing what and how much there actually is. And then creating some fun, excitement atmosphere around it.
So there's not a fee, like for a homeowner, if you're gonna have recycling, there's a fee. If there's no fee for the school, it would be more just to get the school to participate and something fun for the kids.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Yeah.
Madison, should you have a question?
Well, I was going to double check that there was no fee to implement the program. So you guys provide, when it said organizing campaigns for marketing and things like that, you guys provide that? You guys do that for us?
Yes.
Okay. As well as the training and the materials and all of that?
Yep.
Okay, that's awesome.
So Classroom Collects, thank you for your presentation and you guys for also joining to support. So if a classroom is collecting in their cardboard box, right, or bin, what happens if that gets full before your next time? Are there outdoor recycling bins that our staff or janitorial staff can deposit those boxes in, or what does that look like for them?
Yeah, so, good evening, everyone, so yes, we do have a process where we can actually come out and collect that material for you. If you have recycling bins outside the schools, that can also be placed in the bins. The regular trucks can come and pick up that material. The goal is really for education, to understand how we recycle and what's acceptable and what's not. But if we get to a point where it's full, that's a good thing, right? So that means that the class is really participating, and then we can have our collection teams come with that material.
Is it possible to get a few of those extra cardboards and the custodian to just switch them out and store it until you guys come back?
Yeah, so the cardboard bins that we have, they can be reused.
Right.
We do have liners that can go inside them. Typically with recycle, we don't want any bags to hold the recycle, but the liners can be replaced into a process and be used.
Okay.
Did you have any questions?
No, my main question, where I thought we did that, and what we had was students that, there was a group, a club that was in charge, and they would come and collect it and put it in the larger bin, say outside. So you could keep reusing them. Right.
That's how McDowell Mountain used to do it as well. It was, our student government did it, basically it was the third grade Stugo kid. And they would collect it from every classroom and on their little flatbed, they would wheel it out and put it in a big dumpster. But unfortunately, we found that people in the community wanted to add other things to our dumpsters. And so then we had to get rid of the dumpsters. So then that's where our recycling program went. So I like the in-classroom bins as opposed to having a dumpster outside because people take the liberty of using it for other things and we can't have that. So I do like that you have boxes inside the classroom. I like the fun contests for the kids. I hate recycling. I love to recycle. I hate the waste of paper. So I'm not a big fan of worksheets, but we still use them. So if we could recycle them, that would be great.
Absolutely. And as Michael mentioned, this curriculum that the Public Services has put together to provide the education for the students, like, it helps facilitate the discussion around how we recycle, what needs to take place in the classroom and at home, right? So kids take this message home to their families as well, which is good.
Okay, can I ask you about the glass though? Because at home, we're not supposed to recycle glass, but you allow the kids to recycle it, is that correct?
Well, we accept.
I'm bringing all mine to
glass
the
in our
school.
facility. To my point, it's really tough to process. I was just at the facility, I mean, I apologize, I'm sort of dusty. But we recycle glass in our facility. Obviously, if there's another stream for that, we would rather take it there, but we do process that and we take it to the facility to carry it on. But in the classroom, I can understand why that would not be something that we want to place in the bins, having glass around the children.
Yeah, I don't think there's a lot of glass in the classrooms, but I just wondered, because at home, on our recycle thing, you're not supposed to put glass in your regular residential one, so I just
That
wondered.
varies by region too. What facility is that?
Well, that's fine.
Yes.
Yeah, I found that interesting too because I literally called a bunch of different recycling places and none of them would take glass.
Right.
And I was like, what? I did have a question. Oh, because you guys are working with the Department of Ed, which I think is pretty cool, are you guys looking to get some possible grants for schools that do implement a program like this, since it does add some extra things? Is there a way to get them to throw some money behind it?
I think anything's possible, right? Right now, we're working on making sure we get the something that's actually can be placed in the curriculum. But grants is certainly a topic of discussion within schools.
Yeah, not that recycling isn't valiant enough, but I mean, anything to incentivize something like that is usually helpful.
Okay, any other questions? Thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you.
And please be sure to send your presentation to Krista and then she'll forward it to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Public comments, I don't have any up here. Does anyone in the audience have a public comment? I know Krista's not here, so I'll take them directly if you do. Okay, seeing none. I will move on to action items, and first up is the superintendent goals. Dr. J, would you like to go over your update, please?
Sure. Madam President, members of the board and guests, we have tonight the goals that I revised. So what I did is taking the feedback of having some measurable outcomes. I went through each goal and I added either both in each goal a quantitative or qualitative measurement that I could bring back to show that. So the quantitative data would represent numbers, percentages, spreadsheets, things like that. Where the qualitative data would be more of artifacts, presentations, stories, things that are hard to quantify in numbers. And so when I look at evaluating administrators or teachers, one of the things that I always found was very successful in really understanding the quality of the work was for them to bring artifacts. I used to say all the time, you know, if you feel you're highly distinguished or whatever the highest level is, then bring artifacts to show that. So there's some things you can see when you walk into a classroom. You can see classroom management, all right? It's hard to quantify. Yes, you can quantify it by referrals, but you could also have someone who doesn't write any and they still don't have classroom management skills. So those are, I think you see by the visits and the time there versus say something like lesson planning that could be more quantitative by, showing, spreadsheets or, it could be qualitative with the lesson plan book. So I just felt it was good to have a little bit of both. And I guess the best example that I came back to when I thought about this was I could easily quantify how many Rotary meetings I go to, right? I could put on the calendar, I could put in a spreadsheet. But I think the real story is when the Rotary's here painting, the Rotary's here offering the staff picnic, the Rotary. If you were at the art fair this week, you may have seen me picking up trash. I did have a shift there without a Rotary shirt, so it looked kind of weird that I was just going through the trash. But the point is that the story sometimes, I think, tells more than just the number. So I tried to balance that as I went through on each objective. So each objective now has at least a quantitative or qualitative data in most cases, unless it's self-explanatory, then I left it be. And then I'm here to answer any questions you have.
Thank you. Other questions regarding superintendent goals?
I really appreciate you going through all this and putting both qualitative and quantitative information, because I think it'll be easier for us to look at and see what you provide for us to be able to say, yes, you did.
Anyone else have any questions or comments?
So I appreciate the motivation behind a lot of these. I see the result that we're looking for with them. However, I am finding it hard to see the direction within the goals. And to me, that's the main purpose of a goal, is to kind of give a direction and break it down to create a plan moving forward. I think at least when I was encouraging for something measurable, I love being able to see what's being done, but we're looking to see the results of what's being done. And I think that you hit the nail on the head when you said you know, you could easily say, oh, I've been to 15 meetings, but then when you say, no, you know, Kiwanis is gonna paint for us, or, oh, I'm working with them in this community event, that shows those are more of the results. And so some of those are gonna be kind of hard to outline the measurable aspect of it. But when I read through these, like I said, it was just kind of hard to see the clear direction. I think that one of the things that they are supposed to be is somewhat clear and
Give me an example of one that you need clarity on.
So I took the first one, because it says engage with stakeholders in all communities, an active and collaborative partnership that supports educational excellence, college and career readiness, and a quality community, creating active partners in the district with parents, teachers, and students. And to me, all of those things sound great, and then you break them down into objectives that touch on that, but I think that the end goal is that we want to cultivate the atmosphere that supports educational excellence as well as college and career readiness. And then I think it needs to be through, and then you can list the objectives such as engaging with stakeholders, continuing to grow involvement. And then under each of those ones, for example, engaging with stakeholders, there could be the senior internship or the district involvement with community partners, or do you know what I mean? So that we have like the end result, we have the ways that we can get those end results, and then we have measurable things underneath those, so that it's a very clear roadmap of how to get there.
Well, I look at it as, if I'm setting a goal, then I have objectives that I need to meet, and if I meet those objectives, then I feel that I've made progress on that goal. You're not, I mean, how many years, Mrs. Reed, did we have the same goals as a district?
Almost the entire time I've been on the
Yeah,
board.
because those goals sometimes take time to, one, achieve, and then two, if it's important to maintain and sustain. So when you're bringing an organization from one point to another, there's levels of work that needs to be done, and then when you get to that apex, the hardest part of leadership is sustaining whatever success you've had. So if you move away from those goals, then those things start to fall apart. And so these goals are not going to be, all the goals you gave me for this year, I don't think are going to be 100% completed in 1 year, because they're long-term goals. Like, you're not going to stop engaging with communities or stakeholders. So if you go through it, you have your senior internship, you have all of our local partners that we work with, and it's important to give them the time and give them opportunities to be involved. And then you have, on top of that, the EBIT, which we want to continue to develop there and grow. And then one of the biggest pieces is I think our biggest issue we face as a district is changing the perception of the district. And that's outlined in Objective D, marketing and speaking engagements with the community, focusing on sharing our story. Because that is what, in my opinion, has been probably the most difficult thing to overcome, is a perception that, going to some other school district or some other school is a better choice. Even when our test scores were higher than those other schools, there was still a perception that we go to those schools. So that's our biggest, in my opinion now, being here for almost, 18 months, and it's been our problem for a long time. It's nothing new, but it's really surfaced more with me that there's a lot of things that people don't know about our schools and about the work we're doing, and that's why I focused on that. So I believe personally, looking at this, that you're not going to be able to attack everything in 1 year. I mean, these are a lot of goals, to be honest. We typically, try with our staff to, maybe 3 to 5 goals a year that we really focus on and do those at a high level. There's a lot of things on here that need to get accomplished in the time that I have. So
I agree, and I think that's why I'm saying what I'm saying, is because all of these are essentially end results, like what we would really like to have happen, and they're almost all of them are ones that you continue to work on. You never stop engaging with stakeholders. You never stop continuing to grow your involvement. You never stop continuing to build opportunities for our students. You know, all of those things are things that we should continue to work on. So underneath these overreaching goals that are going to keep going, we should have the more step-by-step goals, like the ones that we know we're working on this year.
He
And-
does. He says, implement the senior internship in collaboration with Mountain Hills Chamber
Okay,
of Commerce.
okay.
That's one. But you have to remember that we have 5 goals as a board. So he has to go off of those 5 goals.
We're arguing about something that we're not talking about, because I'm not talking about, these are not goals.
They are goals.
No,
Yes,
because
they are.
His goal is to implement the senior internship.
what is goal 1? Because if you read through this,
That's the board goal that he
paragraph-
has to go off
That's
of.
not my goal,
That's
your
our goal.
That's your goal. not
That's
mine.
our goal.
His is the objective and off of those goals.
You guys created those goals
Okay.
and you guys approved them.
okay, but what I'm saying is with these objectives then, where this qualitative data showing us artifacts from student presentations will be shared and reviewed by the governing board. That shows me that the check mark is there and that it was done, but what we're trying to say is that we want to see the result of that.
No, I
It's
disagree,
not
I think it's the opposite. If I gave you 95 out of 120 kids did the senior internship, that's the check mark. This is, I plan to bring students to present their internship information to you. And if they can't come, then Mr. Hartman will present that information to you. But the point is that shows not only that the idea was done, but it was also done hopefully at a high level. And remember, it's only year 1, so we don't even know how it's gonna turn out until we get to the end. Then we get to the end, we go back and we revise it. But yeah, I completely feel that qualitative data of you seeing the work these kids did is the best way to show that it was completed.
I would love to see those things, because I think that that's going to be the most enjoyable part, honestly. But I think that something that would be measurable and that could tie into year 1 of something like this is, you know, how many hires happened after this internship, how many students.
I can't control that though, that's
It's
something I
not
can control.
about, well, we can't control the results. That's why we set goals and we say, this is the result we're looking for, and these are the things we're going to do to lead us there. And then as they work or don't work, you adjust.
Okay, but let me ask you this, if you want to go by how many are hired, then we'd have to revisit this 5 years later.
I'm just
when they
saying that
graduate
these
from
are
college.
things that you could measure and then grow from. So year 1, we only used the chamber to connect students with businesses. Maybe in year 2, we can look at giving extra credit for the students that find their own businesses to work with or forge their own way, because that shows an additional, you know,
We're open to
accountability
ideas.
things.
I just like that
That's
the
what,
chamber
I
is
think
taking
that's what
the-
we're looking for as far as goals, is things like that where we see the reaching and the growth and the direction that these things are taking.
That's not what I'm looking
Yeah,
for.
No.
I don't see, I look at this as the goal was presented to me, and my job is to come up with objectives of how to achieve that goal in my first year with that goal to the best of my ability. That is what it is. To look out 2 years into the future, that can be something else, but that can be tied to performance goals or performance pay, because you can't wait 4 years to find out what the result was. So you have to have something that can be measurable now. And like I said, I can simply do a quantitative thing and say, out of the 145 seniors, my guess is 145 are gonna do it, is my understanding. You might have 1 or 2 that don't. They might do this senior project, but they're on track to get, the last numbers I saw from Ms. Kane is that almost every kid's placed and on their way. So that really is an achievable goal. It's already done. I mean, I can give you that at the end of the meeting, but this is something that really shows the quality of the work and the experience that the kids have. And if it's not good, then we need to go back and fix it. Like that's the point of goals, is to go back and fix it. But
And we won't know if we need to
Yeah.
use anybody else other than the chamber until we go through it 1 year after another. I think what you've written down is perfect. When it comes to education, a lot of it is observation. It's not that you can actually say 2% of this, 10% of that. You can maybe on test scores, but it's not the superintendent's place to go in there and make sure that all the students do things. He's the one that's guiding the principals, and the principals guide the teachers, making sure that education's going on, that everybody's learning, that they're taking the test seriously and doing as well as they can. I think everything that's been implemented this year between higher goals for all the students and for reteach in there, it's exactly what we need to do for them to move forward. And that's what we need to look at as a school district.
And I did put in there, in certain goals, that quantitative piece that is a little bit more measurable, where I felt it made sense to do that. That's why I said when you're looking at data, that's why, there's the two types of data, is that it's really a mixed method approach here of showing you that there's different ways to interpret data, and that helps you make that final decision of, did I meet the goals and do I deserve the performance pay?
Libby
So,
has a question.
So I want to go back to something that was mentioned earlier, and so as long as you've been on the board, President Reed, these goals have not changed. It's just the objectives within that. So this is the first year in many years that these goals have changed.
So for the first probably 6 or 7 years, the goals did not change. They were set by previous boards. The board continued to approve the goals. They were very vague. And then when Dr. Barnard and Mrs. Jenkins came on the board, we did more collaborative work. That's when we started having work study sessions, and we kind of wordsmithed them some more. And then we added a 5th goal that Mrs. Rakowski actually requested, which was about the safety of our students. Unfortunately, that's when the school shootings really started happening, and so then we felt that we needed to have a safety aspect. And then obviously this year, you did a great job, formatting the goals. So the goals have always been fairly the same, pretty much the same. That it's to collaborate with the community, it's to raise student achievement, to provide a safe and nurturing, area for our students. And then each superintendent would basically make goals off of that.
So obviously I lack some knowledge in this area. Our district does not have KPIs. This would essentially be your KPI.
I would say, I would say yes, I guess. Yeah.
So, as I've said a million times, the board has always been the what, and the superintendent and the principals figure out how. And so when the board says to engage with stakeholders in all communities, an active and collaborative partnership that supports educational excellence, college and career readiness, and a quality community, creating active partners in the district with parents, teachers, and students. That's the board's goal. And so he has to figure out how to do that. And his objective of how to do that was to implement the senior internship, which goes along with the career and college ready, to grow his involvement with local FHUSD partners such as Fort McDowell, the Chamber of Commerce. Again, that is, creating that collaborative partnership with the community to build opportunities for our students to attend EVIT. Again, it goes back to the career readiness, that add additional marketing and speaking engagements with the community and focus on a sharing story, reaching out to the community again. So those are the areas that he is working on to achieve the board's goal. Because the board itself does not achieve this goal. The only way we achieve these goals is if our employees achieve those goals. Because the board itself does not do the work. We just set the parameters.
Sorry, go ahead. I guess and I appreciate all the work you did, and you came back with some that are measurable, and I do appreciate that. And I guess my concern is that, again, I like the fact that we're doing the internship, and having students participate in it, the 100% participation I think is fantastic. I find it hard to state the qualitative data around that is the student presentations. I look forward to that, But what about our community feeling the mentors and their desire to repeat? Because that's the other part of the success of the program, and maybe this is a bad one to give the example on. If we look at continue to build opportunities for our students to attend EVIT, I like that you constantly say, Dr. J, 1% better. And even seeing 1% increase in enrollment in EVIT for the next year, I mean, that's 1% better for the year. And maybe putting numbers to opportunities.
Yeah, I thought about that. I did. And the reason I didn't do that for EVIT, and I don't think that would have been hard to achieve at all, I just think I don't think the objective should be for me to push kids into things to meet some kind of number. And that's why I went against that. And I didn't include that because if I'm given a directive of 70, you have to have this many more kids in this program at the end of the year. If I did that to Mr. Hartman, we're doing that for a different reason than we should. And so what I went with instead is we have not, I believe a lot of schools have not done a good job of marketing EVIT to their parents, their kids, the community. So that I think is that's gonna yield better results, in my opinion, than pushing kids into something and they get there and they don't want to do that, they don't like it, they wanna cancel out of that. Plus our enrollment's gonna change. We're not gonna have the same number. We could go by percentage. I mean, we could always do it that way, but the enrollment's gonna be different next year. There's no doubt about that. So I looked at it in that regard of, I think it's better for me personally, to take the kids on tours, use the advisory period to meet with those sophomores, juniors about what EVIT is, use kids that are in the program now as a way to speak to the benefits of being in there. And so that's why I went that way. That's a perfect example of where I think a qualitative objective worked better than a quantitative. When you get to test scores, I did put quantitative in, because there's no qualitative way to say the test score. I mean, that wouldn't be fair to anybody to do it that way. And I took a pretty bold goal there, to be honest. But that's where I want to be, and if that's where I want to be, then I want to be higher than that. But, so that's why I think that actually kind of, I think brings some clarity to why I ended up with the qualitative versus quantitative on these different goals. And the other thing about the objective, just so you understand, for those of you new to this, when Patrick Sweeney and Dr. Allen were here, and I was principal, I got a copy of their objectives, and then I wrote all my objectives off of those objectives. And so for whatever the board's vision was, and then the superintendent's way of meeting that, my job as the principal was to make them look good and make them look like, hey, they got this done. And so once these are approved, they'll go to our principals. They've already turned in goals because I had to get those in early for their evaluations, but they will modify and work on those based on those too. And some of them are directed straight to them. So like if Mr. Hartman doesn't complete something, it will affect me. If Kim doesn't, it will affect me. If Kevin doesn't, it will affect me. And that pushes the leadership on me to work with them to make sure that they're getting those things done as well. So.
Thank you. I appreciate that you went back and redid them and that you added a variety of different options. Are there any other questions?
I just have one more thing to say, because normally with goals, there are specific numbers attached, and for example, it would be increase extracurricular opportunities by X amount by this time, or whatever. And I know that not everything can be framed that way, especially when it comes to something like public education and the direction that we want to take the district. However, I would suggest, and maybe it'll be done on the principal level, putting into place the action plan, I guess, because that's how I write my goals, and I guess this doesn't need to be done that way, but when you have a goal that's this, you break it down so that every step is in front of you. You know where you're going, you know when to measure and to make sure that you're still on track, and you know how to move forward from that point. And that's what I think is missing here. I see a lot of good here, to me, I just don't see the clear roadmap.
But
Well-
remember, he's only one.
Yeah.
So it goes from the board to the superintendent, to the principals, to the vice principals, to the teachers. So, he also sets, they also set goals with him. And so where his, ours is very broad, his is kind of broad, it starts to work its way down that, maybe Mr. Hartman says to the 9th grade team, I want to see your math scores go up by 5%. It becomes more, narrow as it goes down, but, he's only in charge of a certain area. And so, like he said, they already worked with the principals on setting goals. And so if you went back through and looked at their goals, they may be more specific in order to come up that tree to achieve his goal, which then achieves the board's goal. It actually can't do anything to
Yeah,
achieve the goal.
I understand that, but from a business standpoint, the leader would be someone that would give a lot of direction.
But I do-
And there is direction in here, it's just, and maybe that's just where I'm inexperienced, and maybe it is the principals that do the more specific direction, but.
Well, if you look at like the state test scores, like, there's a million things that go into that. There's reteach and curriculum and scheduling and PD sessions and ACT prep and all those things. I mean, we can list them all, but those are all being done. So what you want to see is, did that happen, yes or no? So if it didn't happen, then we need to go back to the drawing board and say, okay, where in our process, where did that not happen? Where did we come up short? And then I would imagine that goal will be next year revised to address that. So yes, this is a, like you're the 30,000 foot view, I'm kind of that 20,000 foot, and it just keeps getting, lower and lower as you go down. But ultimately, if all these things happen, and then I feel that the district is heading in the right direction. And that's ultimately what this is about, is having a plan for where we need to go, and that adjusts from time to time. So one year it may be, test scores. But when, 4 or 5 years ago, we had the second highest scores in the state of comprehensive public high schools, you're focusing on something else because you want to sustain that, but you kind of hit that now. It's time to move on to something else. And so we have a lot of work to do in this district, there's no doubt. So I think this is a good start for year one, and then next year, we will have the results of this, and then the ones that haven't been met will be revised, and the ones that have been and we feel strong, we don't put those back on there. If the internship's running great, I would probably, the one thing I would put on there is maybe look at other, avenues. But the one thing about the chamber is that they're doing a lot of vetting, and they're doing a lot of the work for us in collaboration, and it's harder when you don't have a group doing that for you. So I'm not saying it can't happen, I'm just saying for year one, the chamber was a good way to build that, okay? All right.
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead. Overall, I just want to share that I do have some concerns. If we look at 3 and our objectives under 3, or just in general, that the board's going to continue to have some disagreements regarding, quantitative data when we're just discussing spreadsheets, right? A spreadsheet is nice, but we don't have anything tied to that. So that's my greatest concern, is that we've seen the disagreements here from the board as to what things look like. And when we don't have specifics tied to what we perceive makes a spreadsheet a success or not, it concerns me overall.
So
What number are you talking about?
Well, I mean, he has spreadsheets in a lot of them, and
So
I'd
like
like to see
objective
spreadsheets.
3C, where it says
Correct.
host open house nights to all community members to tour our school, meet our teachers, and learn about our signature programs. Spreadsheet to determine the number of community engagement events. So would you be more comfortable if he put, I'm gonna host 10 a year?
Yeah, I suppose, yes, because what does this mean? I mean, we could think he should host 10, and he's thinking 3 is acceptable, and now we've set him up to fail. And that's where my concern lies, is that we all have very different opinions up here. And I don't want to be setting Dr. J up for failure when we might have different ideas.
I think if we put numbers, are more of a problem. If we get a spreadsheet that shows us that he's attended all these meetings, and then we see that people come and support the schools and give awards to the students, and then they get more scholarships at the end as well. I think that's what goes with this. I would hate to see numbers. I'd rather have it be like this.
Yeah, and you could take year one, when I come back with it and say, okay, next year, this is the baseline year, so now next year, we want to see that increase by 20%. There's no baseline on these goals at this time. And the other one in 3 is a student survey, so I think that would be very valuable to the board to see how the students feel about the program, because if the students don't feel the program is strong, then that regardless of your goals, that's something I want to know, so we can go back and revise that and fix it to make it better. So I think that one is very quantitative. You're going to be able to see the actual results of the children, how they feel about the Innovate 21 program in its first year. And again, it's a baseline year, so with the goals changing so dramatically in 1 year, there's no baseline to go on. I think this is a good starting point of, let's see how these go, and then next year, I agree with you. Let's raise some of these by 10%, 20%, where it makes sense to do that. Some won't, but some will, and I agree with you.
And that's what I was gonna say, no superintendent has ever been given a number, so I can't say, you know what, if you had 10 here, I think you could achieve the goal, because I don't know, honestly, because no superintendent has ever been given that. And this is the first year that we're trying to hold him to numbers. Last year, because he was new and coming out of COVID, it was kind of a craziness. But we said this year we want to see quantitative goals, and I think he does have, a variety here. But next year, when we go to do these goals, we would have a baseline of data, and we don't have that right now. So I can't say that 10 open houses would be better than 5, or 10 didn't do it, and now you need 20. So
But,
that's my only thing.
Wouldn't we need to set, we can start with a small number, like 1 per quarter or 1 per semester or whatever, but maybe start with something small like that so that we establish a baseline that we're expecting, and then we can see where we're at and try to grow from there. Maybe we could see if attendance grows over the few that we have this year and then next year, and then tie it to the marketing, make sure that we're pushing the marketing alongside the events so that.
I think the objective says that though, where it says multiple. So again, you also get fatigue in these things too. Like parents. I had plenty of parent nights where I had 7, 6, 5 parents come. So sometimes you get that fatigue factor in too. So I think it's a good opportunity to baseline. Like, we want community engagement nights. We do, like, when that elementary school is done, I've got a ton of things planned. I already talked to Dark Skies. They're going to start talking to Joe. They're going to start having their meetings in the library. They're going to use it for multiple purposes. I think that's great. That's a great community engagement piece. So we talked about just recently, another one that you're going to see come through is with the PTO when they do their 5K. Our goal is to have free daycare for the 5K. Our teachers or staff will be out there at the playground. You can drop your kid off, go run your 5K. If you're like me, it takes 30 minutes. Some of them only takes 10, but then you go out pancakes with your family. Those are things we're trying to do to get people on the campus. So again, I think you want to see that baseline data, and then, like, if I come back to you and we didn't do any, well, that's a problem, right? But by the time we get to the end, then you can see, like, you can give me that feedback that, I don't think that's enough, or I think that's too much, or I think, okay, that was good, now what are you going to do to enhance that goal next year? So what can you add to that objective next year to take it to the next level? So again, this is a huge shift for this district, going from goals that have been in place for a while to new ones. I welcome the new goals. I think that I think new ideas bring about good changes, but again, this is, it's November, and we don't have goals in place, and the farther this goes out, the harder it is to achieve those goals for everybody in the organization.
And the board is required to do his evaluation next month, and we haven't even accepted his goals at this point.
Are we supposed to be evaluating him off of goals that we just approved? Because the first time they came in front of us was only, what, 3 weeks ago?
Because it took the board a long time to approve its goals. Unfortunately, with a lot of the back and forth, the board does not make much progress. And
I don't
so-
think that was the problem. We had a lot of meetings where this wasn't discussed, and I think maybe it was just scheduling. We should have done this earlier if this is the timeline.
Well, unfortunately, that's what it states in the contract, and so, you know, we did have a lot of meetings that went really long, and so with a lot of business that took a long time, we didn't get the goals done when we were supposed to. So,
I'm willing to revise them again if you'd like me to, whatever you need me to do.
And if we have it under action, are we to approve them or not?
I'm gonna motion that we approve the goals as presented.
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
So it's 2-2, so yes, you'll have to go back and revise. Okay, next up is the extracurricular fees. The one that was added was the competition fees. This is for things like band competitions. The fees vary per competition, but we wanted to make sure that parents were aware that there could be fees associated if they were in a competitive band, basically. Are there any questions regarding that?
I move we approve the,
Well, we haven't answered questions.
oh, okay.
Are there any questions regarding the addition of that fee? We can't put a dollar amount to it because it changes.
Can you clarify it to read band competition fees? Or is it more than just band?
Dr. J, do you have an answer for that?
I would say that typically it's going to be band, but in the event that we get choir back up and running, which is a goal of mine, or you get,
Is there any type of dance
Could it be,
competition?
yeah,
yeah, well, those are all typically, Miss Wendy's left, but typically those are covered through, those are all covered through the fee for the sport, like they don't pay for tournaments and those things. So I would say it's typically gonna be your fine arts. But let's say our kids enter into an art contest that they typically haven't done, the teacher wants to do something. So I think leaving it a little, I mean, all we're saying to parents is that it varies. We're not saying it's going to be a number, and then if they can't pay that fee, like in any other situation, they go to the high school administration, and if there is scholarship money, which a lot of people do donate, we help them, or we put them on a payment plan or something like that. But I think that's just to clarify that it's not a set number, so that when that fee does change, parents aren't caught off guard, and it's not approved somewhere that it is a number. I think that's what my team was trying to accomplish.
And it is listed under the performing arts section.
Correct.
So, yeah. Are there any other questions? Hearing none.
Okay, I move we approve the extracurricular fees.
I second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next up is the certified staff waiver, which we had discussed last month. Excuse me. And we needed more clarification from our attorney, which you've been provided through an email. So does anyone have any questions? The employee resigned mid-contract. We do have a policy, which is also in your board packet, that states the level of penalty based on when they resign during their contract period.
Is there a recommendation from,
I'm actually going to move that the board assess the penalty to the teacher who resigned in the middle of her contract based on her reasoning.
I second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Next up is the textbook adoption for the high school AP Human Geography.
Madam President, members of the board and guests, we have had the team go through. Mr. Alexander helped lead that team as far as making sure that procedures were followed. The books have been on display for 60 days, I believe, at this time. And the team is here tonight to answer any questions you have, so I will turn it over to the high school team.
Are there questions regarding the high school AP human geography?
I have a question, it's not necessarily for them though. I asked Krista about the board being able to get a copy that we could sign out to take home.
Yes.
Is that gonna be able to be done before we adopt it?
I
Or-
think she was checking with the publisher, but in the future, yes, she will be requesting 3 copies.
Okay,
One that can be on display and 2 that the board can rotate.
that's great.
I do believe she will have it before you vote on it. I don't
Awesome.
want to be certain on that, but I do believe you will.
Okay. And then, I did have another question, hold on, it'll come back to me.
What were the other textbooks that were considered as part of this, or for this curriculum?
Come on down to the podium.
The textbook was by Rubenstein and had AP standard, the author is Rubenstein.
Is it human geography
For AP.
for the, I don't feel like it was listed, I'm sorry.
Cultural landscape. That's what it's called.
And why did you pick this book over that one?
Few reasons. So this textbook is the most recent one. It was published in 2021, which by textbook standard is like as soon as you can get. I conducted it, or I was a participant in a training over the summer, AP training for specifically this course. The person who did the training, he helped to foster this course in 1999. He's taught it since. He's written a textbook for the course. This was his recommendation. I'm part of an online community of AP Human Geo teachers, and it is like overwhelmingly they choose this textbook. I myself prefer it just because of the visuals, the case studies that it presents, what the information that we have to present in Human Geo. It's a modern course. It covers the last 20 years of humanity throughout the globe, patterns of movement, and all sorts of things that happened. And this textbook, published by Nat Geo, covers it in the most comprehensive way that I've seen, in the most visually appealing and graphic way. The text reads easy for anyone, especially for high school students. So compared to the other textbooks that are out on the market and up for consideration, this one, in my opinion, is better.
And it wasn't just your opinion, it was the entire committee that felt that way.
Right, so everyone on the committee agreed. They had an opportunity to also flip through a couple textbooks. We discussed it, and this was, I don't know, I think it was like 9 to nothing. Everyone voted for this textbook.
Is that how many people were on your committee? Was 9?
It was more than that, I think it was 12 total.
Did you have another question?
I appreciate you guys doing a textbook committee this time. Is it possible in the future, or even to go back and add the rubric that you guys looked at for the public to see? Because I've gone back to your meeting notices, or your meeting notes, and I don't see a rubric there. Could be missing it.
Yeah, we turned in everything, there's the rubric and all of our notes and all of our votes.
So we can ask Krista where that's at, but yes, they did. So one of the things after the math book last year, and again, when we go back to that time period, policies did not change from ASBA. We put a pause on that, and we went back, and Kevin has started that he's starting that process over. On this one, I asked Chris Alexander to be a district representative and ensure that we did this, correctly. There was a rubric, there was multiple meetings, public notices, and so I feel comfortable with the process. I was not a part of the committee, but it sounds like there were 12 people part of the committee, and we can get Krista to give you those documents.
And then just a side note for Krista, when she listens, the meeting minutes link for the textbook adoption committee on the 22nd of August seems to be a broken link, so it's not up there.
We'll have her fix that.
With it being on display at the district for 60 days, how many people came to see it? Do we keep track of that?
I don't know if Krista keeps track. I'm not aware of any concerns with the book. No one has come to us with a concern. I do believe they have had, I want to say that that we've had visitors. But again, without Krista here, I don't want to be held to that statement, but I do remember her, I think, saying that she did. But it has, we followed all the procedures we're supposed to follow with this to bring it to you.
And how do we notify people that it's on display at the district? Is it through Falcon Focus, or is it?
It goes out in an email,
Okay,
and I think there might be something on our website, but it definitely goes out in an email.
okay,
And usually George posts something in the newspaper.
okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lydia.
Okay, so I'm going to ask Krista to send us the notes and the rubric for the committee to the board. Fix the broken link and how many views of people came in and actually saw it.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions or anything else that you'd like?
Thank you.
All right. We'll move on. Future action, budget discussion. I've already discussed that with Libby, that we'll be doing that in the middle of January. Dates of upcoming meetings, December 6th. I believe we'll actually start with an executive session at 5 o'clock, but I will double check on that. And then January 3rd at 6 p.m. here in the Learning Center.
Just what I say, did you see that the organizational meeting does not have to be early in January now? We have the entire month to be able to do that.
Anything else?
No.
Like that?
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody, since I won't see you. And I move that we adjourn.
Second. I have a motion, second. All in favor, say aye.
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 You could turn off your budget. Pretty sure there is, it's supposed to be. I recommend you use it, but according to
Go ahead.
I'm working with two different people. One is a father, and then another one is a lady who used to teach in Mexico, she taught English in Mexico.
Yeah.
But two different people that would be interested in maybe leading a Spanish club.
I like
Is
to
that
talk
something?
about
Yes. Okay. Is that something that you'd be willing to
Yes,
help with?
I
Okay.
definitely want to talk to them.
Because I
Just
love
if nothing else, we would have to make
Yeah, for sure.
So,
Well,
yeah.
the guy, yeah, the dad, I think that he would feel a lot more comfortable if he had other people that were with them too, because he speaks Spanish very well, but I think he's wanting to do it so that his kids have the opportunity, right?
Yeah, and they never know, it's like when they want to decide to do like one day this, so, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
I survived the survey. So the questions are up now. There's 8 questions up there. We just can't stop the call. So, no, I will